we're talking about Sector 150 Noida. I'm Jayashree Kurup, I'm editor MBTV. I have with me Ankit Pradhan, he's the founder and CEO of Realty Assistant. I've got Bani Anand, she's the director of ATS Infrastructure, and Shazia Ansari, AGM Sales in Alpha Residences. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go straight into Sector 150. Bani, what would you consider the profile of Sector 150 and who should be looking to buy a residence?
So historically speaking, from the data that we've got of customers that have invested, in our projects in Sector 150, I think age bracket would roughly be somewhere between 35 and 45. We've noticed a trend of like salaried employees who are largely from within Noida. I would imagine 30 to 40% of that, and some from, and then the next lot of East Delhi, who are probably wanting to move out of their existing colonies, wanting to upgrade to a community living wherein they have proper parking, they have no issues with electricity, have power backup, etc. And then from in and around Ghaziabad, Mathura, Agra, etc. So that is the profile of buyers we have observed over time.
Right. Shazia, when you look at Sector 150, what is the profile of the sector? What are the types of flats that you can get here?
Like if you talk about Sector 150 is concerned in the entire area, that is coming up as a luxury destination with the affordable pricing. Now, the main reason is the connectivity. The main reason is the profile of the sector, which is like 80% is the open sector and focusing more on the sports related activities. So as Bani correctly said, that it will attract age bracket from 35 to 45. So that kind of a segment we are actually targeting, who are more, salaried background and, would like to have the experience luxury kind of a living aspiration. So they will focus in Sector 150. And the like if you talk about the security is concerned, one thing which is very important, like if you talk about that is the only sector right now which has a CCTV surveillance. That is the most important part in this Sector 150, which I feel is very important in current situations.
Right.
And like if you talk about the FAR, that is the low density sector. So all the projects which is going to be there is the low density in terms of the per acre living is concerned. So that is the key points for Sector 150, which I feel will be attracting towards the buyers, whether it is an investor or the end users.
Right. I'm going to go to Ankit and then I come back to you with specifics about the projects as well, right? Ankit, when you talk about the Greater Noida Expressway, a very long stretch, a lot of it developed, and Sector 150 is tucked away to the extreme end of the expressway. But it has been created as a luxury destination, more greens, CCTV surveillance, and so on. Was this a planned initiative to make this a premium sector?
Definitely, Jayashree. I believe we also need to understand one thing, that although it's at the end of the expressway, but today with the connectivity and the infrastructure being developed, it has become the epicenter of the development. And more to it, it's not only about the luxury destination. This is the only sector in the past 4 to 5 years which has actually performed in terms of capital gains. I think we all understand that there have been our local stalwarts like ATS itself and ACE who launched their projects at about 3600 price point back in 2014. And today the prices of the delivered projects are somewhere around 7500. So doubling your money in like 5 years, it's something that real estate has not seen for last decade. So I believe that is the reason why this sector is now being in the focus so much, and also with the new branded developments coming in. And I believe that the developers as well as Noida Authority is now creating an ecosystem. This is the only sector which is a wire-free zone in the entire Delhi NCR. So they're creating an ecosystem for human beings living, flora, fauna, all. So I believe that is why the sector is in focus.
Is there any other sector along the expressway which has similar densities?
No, I think because this was supposed to be a sports city with a low FAR, with like 1.5 was the FAR initially allowed, and little enhancement after the metro corridor. No sector is similar, but yes, we do have a couple of more sectors on the expressway which are nice. But I believe this still is little better than the others.
In terms of density, right?
In terms of density, yeah.
Right. Now, all of you have referred to the sports facilities, that it was land as a sports sector. So, Bani, help me understand, how did that sports tag help you?
Of course, so basically, at least one of our developments is our greatest selling point happens to be the fact that we're developing a golf course. It happens to be the fact that you have, in most of our complexes, we've always tried to go very heavy when it comes to green, when it comes to, areas for children to play in, or just long walkways, where old people can take, their strolls in the evening, etc. And this gives us a lot more opportunity to play with when it comes to landscaping, when it comes to building, let's say, squash courts or badminton courts. The size of everything, of course, increases because it happens to be low density, and that becomes a very big selling point, especially because, as I said, the profile of the buyer largely has been end user driven in our case. And these are people who have children who want space for their children to actually play in the parks, to maybe learn golf if at all, and it does help when you're trying to sell a community living to your buyer.
And the community needs to be nicely integrated, well knit, that kind of.
Absolutely. So, of course, what we've actually done also is I'd like to add to the fact that, when we're talking about the profile of buyers, some of our buyers, about 5 or 6%, have even been from South Delhi, but they are more inclined to buy, let's say, penthouses or, villas or stuff like that. But even they are coming, to, let's say, a Sector 150 from a South Delhi, because they're getting that experience of the golf course, of the fact that, you don't have crowded spaces, a proper place to park your cars, and it's just far more spacious and lush and green, and you want to kind of now progress to living like that. Especially given today, I feel like if we're spending most of our time at home, let's at least have a nice home to live in.
That's right. In fact, I'm going to come back to the COVID impact. We'll do that in the next segment of our discussion. Shazia, when we've noticed that on Magicbricks, that when it comes to properties on Sector 150, about 68% of the properties are 3 BHK. There is about another 15% of 4 BHK and a few of 2 BHK. Break down that number in your own project and tell me who looks forward.
I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat it? It's disconnected.
I see on Magicbricks that most of the properties that we have are 3 BHK properties on Magicbricks. Then there are a few, about 15% of them are 4 BHK, and the remaining are 2 BHK.
Okay.
So break it down and tell me who looks for what in your project.
If you talk about in our project, what the idea behind developing a project, which will vary from starting from 1300 square feet is the smallest size which we have, and then the bigger size, which is 2250 square feet, somewhere around approximately, that is the size of the biggest size apartment. So we have tried to give ample amount of space in terms of we have not given any 2 BHK right now with in our project. So generally, a 2 BHK people will not be very comfortable in terms of end users concern. So there is always a requirement for an additional room to cater the internal needs. So we have tried to keep that in mind, and we have created a smallest size 3 BHK, which is 1300 square feet in size. Then we have 1800 approximately in size, and then 2200 in size. So keeping the nuclear family into consideration and to a joint family. So we are trying to cater all these segments into our project. And as far as the uniqueness is concerned, we have tried to give the openness in terms of the towers are concerned. So every tower will have all the units in the corner units. All the units are corner units, so ample amount of sunlight will be there, air ventilation. So we have tried to keep that in mind, that every apartment of mine in the project will have sunlight and air ventilation, which is utmost important.
What about the sports angle? Do you also play on the sports angle?
Yes, we do have a basketball court, NBA standard basketball court within the premises. So we have tried to promote that sports within our project.
Ankit, a sporty India is a very new phenomenon. We were traditionally not that, but I see picking up, sport and health picking up, especially post-COVID. I'm sure health is going to be, your fitness and your health is going to be at the forefront of things. Help me understand, how did that sports tag help Sector 150?
I believe yes, definitely. Finally, we have seen more than cricket now. So I believe, so yeah, I believe definitely, because I think the COVID situation told us that we are not looking for a house, we are looking for a home. And home is where actually, our parents can get a good space, our kids can get good sports facility. And for a sector that is being developed in about 1,200 acres, and which is the 600 acres is already planned, I believe the ample sports facilities are very important, because normally what we see, people are actually migrating from Delhi and majorly South Delhi. And there, all the luxuries are there, malls are there, but the open areas, playgrounds are not there. So
Yeah.
definitely this tag helps us out, because today we want our younger ones to be, I want them to be all rounders. I just don't want them to be entangled to the video games and virtual games and all. So I believe that is something which is now keeping us with the corporate lives, all the corporate individuals. They are also thinking of getting into fitness. And I believe sports or any hobby is the best fitness you can have.
So sports is within each of the complexes, like Bani spoke about it, Shazia spoke about it, or are there common sports facilities as well in this sector?
I tell you how this was planned was that Noida Authority termed this as a sports city, and every developer had to develop a certain amount of sports facilities as part of the recreational development.
Yeah.
So majorly, almost like 80% of developers have some responsibility of completing their facilities. Like for example, like ATS has to do the golf courses. There are a couple of more who have to do the cricket stadium. So these facilities were divided into all, and they have to do it before the completion completes. The completion certificate is
Yeah.
received.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that projects have been a little slow in this sector. We have had delays and a slowdown. What is the status today? If I were to come to you as a potential buyer, how would you advise me?
Yeah, definitely, Jayashree. I agree with you that there had been delays, but we also need to understand that there were a lot of policy issues that came into picture.
Yeah.
And post the RERA implementation in 2017, things have actually turned around.
Okay.
And today we have seen whatever projects were delayed, all those projects have majorly been taken over. For example, Alpha Corp has also taken over one of the projects,
Yeah.
and ATS is doing great, and ACE is doing great. And with the coming in of more brands, today people are more secure, and they understand that okay, yes, now we are in a scenario where we will definitely get deliveries. And I believe more than getting timely delivery is the quality of delivered projects.
Mhm.
So I think people today feel very comfortable when they come and see a ATS Prestige, they come and see a products like ACE and all. So 150 has definitely raised the benchmarks of Noida. Finally, we can be compared to Gurgaon, which was not earlier.
That's
I think Noida is better than Gurgaon, but yeah.
Definitely. In terms of quality of apartment, yeah. Infrastructure, we are
In
very,
terms of
very better. Yeah.
infrastructure, also, I would rather
Yeah.
would like to
Noida is
make a
better.
point. Like I've worked in Gurgaon and Noida, both the markets. So the one thing which is lacking in Gurgaon is the infrastructure. So infrastructure is far better than Gurgaon, which is like Noida is experiencing. We are lacking in Gurgaon. So infrastructure is one major factor which is going to be a major role player in terms of the upcoming of Sector 150 and the
Also now
location
Jewar Airport, just a
yeah.
and the
small.
Dover Airport
Definitely.
and
Yeah.
That's the
Definitely.
next,
Yeah.
post industrial hub as well. So such kind of a development which is going to be there will definitely make a difference for Sector 150.
Yes, and in fact, let's take the discussion towards the drivers of Sector 150. We talked about the stock that is there. Let's talk about the drivers. Jewar Airport, definitely. Yamuna Expressway has seen very slow growth, but there seems to be potential for
Correct.
more.
Yes.
So, what are the current drivers and what are the future drivers? Vani, you want to start?
Sure. So, if you were to actually, I mean, I'm sure everyone here has been to Sector 150, and if you were to actually see, the time taken from Sector 150 to DND, given how good the infrastructure is, how good our expressway is, and the roads are, even the connecting roads internally are actually quite well made. It doesn't take very long to actually hit the cusp of Delhi and Noida.
Mhm.
Even for someone who is living in Sector 150. At the same time, it's kind of equidistant when it comes to, let's say, even your Greater Noida. You have so many offices now on the expressway itself,
Mhm.
and Noida has in the last 1 year seen. I mean, of course, everything changes post COVID. So whatever I'm saying right now is, what has been
Yeah.
working till, let's say, the 15th of
Right.
March of 2020. That being said, the last 1 year has seen major absorption in terms of commercial real estate. So a lot of back offices have now opened up in Noida itself. So I'm assuming that a lot of the people that were actually commuting, let's say, to Delhi or Gurgaon, for their offices will probably, be at ease, because some of their, big firms have actually now got big offices in Noida or are planning to do so, in the near future. So when it comes to connectivity, whether it's the metro, whether it's the road connectivity, I think 150 is just very beautifully located, and when you kind of enter the sector, you don't feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, yet you have the peace and serenity of having your own, little space over there. So I actually really like the positioning of that sector.
So how far is the Jewar airport from here in terms of distance? Once it comes up, how long will it take to the Jewar airport?
I wouldn't imagine it would take any longer, maybe 30 minutes or less, I would imagine.
And what are the commercial complexes around that drive this sector?
So commercial, we have a couple of, sort of retail projects that are coming up. We're doing one of them, the high street shopping that's there. Gore is doing one of them. And the rest of, the expressway is populated with, offices, whether that's even HCL, all of that, whether it's 120, 150, it's not that far. It's barely like 5 or 7 minutes driving.
Yes.
So, large corporations have, in the past taken up space. ENY has now come to Noida on the expressway as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a good place to be in, I would imagine, even when it comes to, connectivity to work. Even if someone's working in Delhi, you have the metro, which is very accessible. And, if you have an office complex in Noida, even better.
Shazia, your buyers are mostly people working in Noida, working in Gurgaon, they're working in Delhi, and the ones who buy here, what is their daily commute going to be post-COVID, of course?
Like if you talk about my buyers are primarily from Noida and in the surrounding areas like Meerut and other location Agra. So we are getting Mathura. Mathura also is the one of the destination from where we are getting good response. So these kind of customers who actually like majority of the percentage I'm getting from Noida who aspires the upgradation in their life. So they are actually targeting in our project, and these small places like Mathura, Meerut, which is close by, so they are showing interest. And also we are getting good response from UP majorly, like people who may aspire to live in Delhi. They are investing right now, and probably they will shift in a coming time. So majorly we are getting response from UP, and UP West is the major chunk, and Noida, of course.
Is it for end use?
Sorry?
Is it for end use?
So both end use and investment we are getting.
Okay.
So right now, it is the what we see 150 as a developing sector. It is the right mix of end users and investors both.
Split it. How much would be end use? How much would be?
So right now we cannot split it. It is like 50-50. Even end users are also looking for their investment to get to have the appreciation in coming time. So they are also investing, keeping that in mind. So this sector will definitely give the edge, in terms of their investment is concerned.
Ankit, I'm going to bring both the questions to you. What is the profile? Who's buying here? What are the drivers of this sector? And help me understand the profile of buyers, end users versus investors.
Sure. Look, basically, I definitely agree with Shazia and Bani both at the points they have made. I believe there are two. I believe I'll like to make 2-3 more points.
Yeah.
Most importantly, yes, we have definitely seen the profile of the customers the same ways as these people have told. But I believe right now, post-COVID, things have little changed, and now this is the best time and the ideal destination for the first-time home buyers. I'm talking about the age group from 25 years to 40 years. Like all these people who are out of the MBA colleges and getting good pay, etc., used to actually, they were majorly dominated by the stock markets, etc. They were majorly involved into going for luxury vacations and, living their life out. I'm definitely sure for the next 1 year, this is not going to happen. No more vacations, no more clubbing, no more spending of money. And probably with the... No, I think, but that is how we have to be secure and safe. So I believe this is the best time where you can actually invest your money at the right direction, which will give you ample returns down the lane. So this is the best time for first-time home buyers. As far as the key driver of 150 is concerned, definitely it is the healthy living as well as the connectivity. And I would like to add in 3 points to the connectivity. We all need to understand there is a very important breakthrough happening. That is the waterway revolution. So inland waterways is something which is huge, and this is something which will have a biggest of impact on India. Just to give you an historic fact, when at the time of industrial revolution, London saw it really bad at the Thames riverfront,
Yeah.
and in the decades to come, they actually made it to the one of the most vulnerable properties of the world.
Yeah.
Similarly, Honorable Minister Gadkari ji has done one thing, that in 2019 we are now going for the Delhi Agra Prayagraj corridor, and we have already submitted the DPR to World Bank. So I think these things gonna change it a lot. We have already seen the Indian waterways working in the eastern part of India. So this thing, adding to the tourism towards the Agra corridor, adding to the commercial use, adding to the industrial use, is huge. Secondly, we are going for the multimodal hub,
Yeah.
multimodal transport hub to Noida with Bodaki and DMIC and everything. So I believe these factors are adding a lot to the for Sector 150 to be the epicenter of the connectivity today. And Xavier Airport definitely is the biggest factor we have. Now, on the way of, if we are able to achieve 6 to 8 runways, as they say, we will be Asia's largest and maybe world's largest after the Chicago and Dallas airports. So, what more can we ask for Noida? I think this is the best time to enter into Sector 150.
Ankit spoke about the COVID, post-COVID buys, how there is surplus money. Because you're not able to spend on retail, you're not eating out, you're not traveling away outside. This is probably a good time to buy. Bani, how have you seen COVID impacting your sales?
Okay, so two things. Of course, sales are not as robust as they are under normal circumstances,
Yeah.
and that's a harsh reality that we've all had to face. Um,
By network,
and it's not just sales, it's elections. So even if you've kind of hit your milestones and you've raised invoices, legitimate ones, to your customers, at this point in time there's just so much uncertainty when it comes to people even retaining their jobs. I mean, everybody today, if startups are laying off people almost 50%, large corporations are laying off people, I think there's a lot of job insecurity, especially given that most of these home buyers are salaried sort of professionals. And that being said, there are two ways to look at it. I'd like to be hopeful, and I'd like to believe that this time in lockdown, in quarantine, has made people realize the value of a home.
Yeah.
That it happens to be the only sound investment that you actually make in your life. Today, if somebody's invested in gold, what are you going to do with it? You can't even access it. If the stock markets haven't done well, they crashed early on as well. And the only thing that you have to be grateful for is a roof over your head, or the fact that you probably have amenities within your society wherein you can get all your basics. So I'd like to believe that the demand for affordable housing will remain strong, robust, and we will see an increase in absorption there, given that the sentiment will go back to owning a home. My only sort of worry is that if we don't work on stabilizing the economy as a whole, then real estate and buying a home just becomes a very small part of that. Then we've kind of failed collectively, right? If people don't have jobs,
Yeah.
then they're not going to worry about buying a home. They're just going to worry about survival.
Right.
So in the event, and I'm hopeful that the economy does manage to stabilize over time, I think we will see a surge in the demand and absorption of affordable housing at the least, if nothing else.
Both Bani and Shazia, you both represent companies which have a track record of delivery, right? Yeah, you have been delivering regularly. Now let's look at the psyche of the buyer. The buyer who till now said that I'm going to not buy, I'll stay on rent. But
Yeah.
COVID has really brought it into sharp focus that probably it's a good idea to own the place that you stay in. Shazia, help me understand the COVID. Are people looking at under construction property? Are people saying that let me pay a little bit? Would subvention schemes of a different sort help people bring people back to the table to buy?
So if you talk about the kind of a query, let me explain you the kind of a query we have generated during this lockdown, that people are willing to buy. They are only just taking care of their finances, and they are postponing their decision for 1 or 2 months to see how economy will will go in which direction. So they are little, conservative in terms of investing right away. But definitely, their plan is to invest in the property, in the real estate. That is the primarily option for them right now in this scenario. So they are just holding their decision right now, but eventually they will invest, keeping the economy where it is heading. So post lockdown, or it will take 2 to 3 months time to basically understand where the market is going.
Right. We'd like to tell you that a Magicbricks survey actually showed that only a quarter, 25% of people said that we will postpone, we are dropping out of the market for now. But a good, healthy, of the remaining 75%, some said they'd scale down. They'd scale down the amount of money that they put in. And about 25% said that I'm going to buy in the next 3 to 6 months, which means that there's a substantial number of buyers who still want to buy. And the remaining said that they would wait for 6 to 9 months, which means that in the course of the next 1 year, you're going to see a large number of people actually shopping for homes. And is that going to be a big factor, Ankit?
Definitely, definitely. I also believe the same, because the kind of researches we also do at our outfit, and the kind of marketing and lead generations we had, especially in the COVID times. I believe a very important factor was that people had time to listen to it, and people had time to think over it. In your normal day-to-day operations, when you are busy with your own work, you tend to get busy about thinking all of this factor. And definitely, right now, I think it's a time of bottom fishing. Prices are very low. The margins of developers are very thin. So definitely, it makes a very good point. Secondly, as far as economics concerned, definitely we all have to be hopeful about that the economics revive soon. And I see Noida per se and UP per se doing very good steps by the government. For example, like they invited everybody in for with tailor-made services. Honorable CM of Uttar Pradesh. Secondly, our industrial minister, etc., have already included the warehousing and logistics sector into the industrial sector.
Sure.
So now the change of land use drops down from 150% to 35%. So what will happen? This will again give us employment. This will again give us development. So from Noida per se, I believe that yes, definitely the factors are nice, and people are also looking over it, and especially with ample of time to think and research, they are also getting more informed and more educated, and that will help us in reducing the cycle, the closing cycle of a sale.
How
That's what I
long
feel.
before we see the consumer back at the negotiating table? Any
I
of you?
believe if I just like to add one thing, I believe they are already on the table, but yeah, the major movement I see happening at least after this quarter, not before that, at least a quarter. Yeah.
Bani?
Yeah, I agree with Ankit there. I mean, bare minimal one quarter, I see the larger impact of COVID lasting for a year and a half at the minimum. Because we haven't even kind of factored, we're only talking about Resi and we're only talking about 150 here, but if you were to actually see the real estate market in general, we haven't factored in what impact this will have on commercial real estate. I mean, I recently read a JLL report that said that they're only expecting a decrease in absorption by about 11 to 12%, and I'm not entirely sure of that. So and that is going to impact what pricing in various micro markets is going to be like, and whether people actually now want to, let's say somebody's office was in Noida and they were staying in Gurgaon and they were contemplating moving to Noida, and now if they have to work from home, they don't need to upgrade immediately. It's a very small example to give. So the longer term impact would last as long as a year and a half too, but I think the next 3 months should kind of get the ball rolling a little bit in terms of people actually buying. Once, honestly, at this point in time, nobody really knows what's going on. Like we've got red, green, orange zones, we've got containment zones, we've got work that started somewhere, yet even with 33% of full occupancy, people are still very apprehensive of showing up to work. So I think only the next few months will tell us what the reality of this pandemic is, of this virus is, and how it has affected the psychology of people. And does it affect buying patterns? Does it affect I mean, largely Asia has been a buyer's market. We've not seen, especially when it comes to homes.
Yeah.
We want to own property. We don't want to just rent it. Rental is something that only, let's say, metropolitan cities experience, because you have professionals that might move, every couple of years, and they don't feel like they need to, invest in a roof over the head immediately. But we are primarily a buyer's sort of, country. So it'll happen. I see it happening, but it'll take some time for it to become as solid and robust.
I believe we are all afraid of the unknown. That is the thing.
Yeah,
That's
honestly, making any predictions
Yeah.
right now is a tad bit,
True.
I don't know.
You have to give sweetness to bring the consumer back. Shazia?
Right.
Yeah, like if you talk about current articles and the studies which we are going through these days, it is based on the presumptions, assumptions. So actual thing will be clear with like over a period of time. So we'll have to give time to the industry to revive. Like it will take, like for real estate, what I expect, it will take minimum 6 month time to actually get to know like what exactly is going to be the impact. So, but so far, if you talk about the industry, it is like from the past 5 years to 6 years, if you have seen, it has already seen the correction. So, if the end market is expecting a further correction, I don't think that it is going to happen.
I agree. I think if
True.
there's a further correction,
True
there
that.
will be no developers left to deliver. This
Yeah. That is the most
what we are right
important
now.
thing. Yes.
Yeah, this is the worst that it's going to get. In fact, I feel like if anybody actually has money to spend, this is the best time to buy.
That's true.
I'm going to now take, I think there are a very large number of questions. Let's quickly race through the questions. There's Pari, who says, asking Mrs. Ankit, Ankit, what kind of sports activity offering in Sector 150? You want to?
Yeah, like I already told you that this is probably the sector where we have everything, starting from golf courses to basketball courts to lawn tennis to whatnot. So probably this is the most integrated sports facility led sector that we can have. So probably we have everything here.
And actually, that's the value of it. It is planned into the master planning process, so that you know that is how the focus is definitely going to remain on sport. There's Piyush Vats who says, is Sector 150 development under Noida Authority or private developers? Ani?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. I was reading the question.
Is Sector 150 development with Noida Authority or with private developers?
I don't understand the question. I mean,
Jayashree, basically
So
what
the
they want to ask
infrastructure
is,
development.
I'm sorry?
yeah, I was just saying it's about the infrastructure development. So infrastructure development is with the authority, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That is with the authority, yeah.
I think what has confused them is you said that the sports facilities are being privately developed.
Developed,
so,
yeah.
Land and the major development is being done by the authority. The private developers take charge of different facilities. Like Bani said,
Yeah.
they are doing the golf course. There will be a cricket stadium that somebody else is doing. And
Yeah.
Shazia said they have the basketball facilities and so on. So that's how it goes into private development, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. Ankit, with Sector 150, there are a lot of questions coming in. I'm sorry, I missed that question.
Being an advisor, that's the benefit.
I'm sorry,
Being an advisor is the benefit, I think.
Yes.
I'm
Understand everything.
skipping through them too. There's so many for Ankit. He's supposed to
I know.
answer literally every
Guys, ask Bani the questions now.
Yeah, sure, please.
How is Sector 150 for investment? What kind of rental income can one expect? Rental is still slow here.
But basically rental is slow, but I think it's better that at least Sector 150 has very limited supply of rentals as well, because people have the properties which are ready are majorly with the end users, so the supply is minimum. So definitely, at least your property gets rental, and you are not burdened by the maintenance, paying maintenance by yourself. And as I already told in the beginning of this session, that Sector 150 is the only sector that has seen capital gains for the last 5 years, 10 years in Noida, starting from 3,600 coming to 7,000. Definitely, it has shown potential, and it still has a lot of potential coming in, because the properties you are getting today are again at the benchmark of somewhere around 5,000 rupees per square feet. So there's still scope.
One more thing I want to just add and say that, we always talk about rental income, and it's never micro market specific. Let's accept India is not a rental market.
At least for residential.
We've not seen for residential. So any country or any market that primarily is driven by the end users desire to own a home will not experience high rental yields. And this is true for Singapore, for Japan, for India. It's just like that. So it's not even about Sector 150. It's just largely India is not a rental market.
Rental market.
For homes.
So you have to look at buying at the right time, at the right price, so that the leveraged value gives you the
Yeah,
returns.
buy as
True.
soon as the project is launched if you trust the developer, because by the time it comes to possession, even if you as an investor you want to flip it and let's say buy a bigger unit, or just take your money out of that, you experience sort of maximum growth through that tenure. So I feel the inception of a project and the start of a project, actually, if you have faith that the developer will deliver, is the best time to buy something. Launch and pre-launch prices are very, very attractive.
Actually, I think now with RERA in place and RERA taking command better than before, the fear of not getting your house is actually coming down. It's only the projects that are stuck in between. And like Ankit said, a lot of takeovers are happening, and we see this across the country. It's not that projects are going to be abandoned. It's just that there's going to be a lot of joint development agreements, or one developer, serious developers taking over the smaller ones and
Yeah.
completing, right?
Yeah, and PMC is happening.
And PMCs.
So that actually gave a positive sentiments in the market.
Yeah.
Yes.
They will definitely get their home delivered on time, and with the kind of a developer who has a legacy to deliver good projects.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So look at the track record, and this is something I've been saying for a long, long time. When you buy a house, it's a long-term investment, and look at the track record of the developer. Look at the previous projects. Talk to people who have bought with the developer. If they are happy with them, those are the drivers that should help you choose your developer.
I actually want to just make a plea to everyone who's watching this as a potential buyer also,
Mhm.
that a large part of delays with developers who are always committed to deliver don't come from the developer themselves. A lot of the times we are stuck with unforeseen circumstances, whether it's entity bans, whether it's the fact that we can't construct for 60 days in total, because there's so much pollution that it's become sort of unfavorable for us to do that, or whether it's sort of policy issues that come in the middle, or the fact that banks refuse to disburse money because there's so much of a liquidity crisis in the market. So most of developers today who have survived, let's say, the weeding out process, intend on delivering, but delays don't come from us all the time. They come from the fact that our hands get tied because we have NBFCs and financial institutions who are partnering with us in the process. So we work with them, we work with the government, and not all is in our hands at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
It works both ways, Bani. There has been a period when there have been a lot of defaults on the development end, but
I entirely we have to take responsibility of that.
yes, yes.
And there's no like shirking away from that, but it's just that with RERA in place, with the amount of regulation that is exercised today, hence I say developers who have had a good track record and who've been kind of listening to you and who've had like great CRM, just trust that sometimes it's not in our hands. What do we do if there's a pandemic now?
I think I'll add to it. I think I'd just like to add one point, that maybe because home buying is so emotional for people, that when that dream shatters, we are the bad boys. But we see it happening in all sort of investment instruments, like even like cooperative banks and the Yes Bank debacle, etc. happens. But people tend to still give them a benefit of doubt. But when it comes to shattering of their dreams, I understand that. Being a realtor, I also got stuck somewhere. Being a realtor myself, but it happens. We also have to see the actual reasons, like Bani told. But yeah, definitely we have had a few bad ones as well.
I have somebody called Himanshu Tomar who's asking about the payment plans of 1090, 1585. How safe are they? Shazia, you want to take that?
Definitely, I would like to take that question. Like these desperate payment plans, I think will lead to the confusion in the market, and I think that is going to impact the market a big way. Like these desperate payment plans should not be be a competition driver. So please understand, like after RERA in place, we have to shell out 70 to 75% of the amount which we are getting from the project. We have to deploy that for the construction. So if we are going to have such kind of a payment plan, very aggressive payment plans, so how a developer is going to develop the project? So people should understand that The payment plans are meant for their home to get delivered on time. So 1090, these all are payment plans, just shows the desperation in the market. And
1090 works only if you have a project that is probably going to get its OC in like 3 months.
true. So where
True
the
that.
inventory is little lesser and your project is at the advanced stage, so then one can afford to have such kind of a payment plan. But for the projects where the inceptions has happened, the new launches, and they cannot afford this kind of payment plans. So we have to make the investors or buyer understand that don't go with these kind of payment plans. Understand the kind of a product you are going to get, on time you are getting, at what time you are getting. That is the most important thing. And like for me, like if I'm going to buy right now, I will take into these factors into consideration. One is location. Second, the developer profile, the project layouts, and the amenities and the price.
And
So
probably
these
connectivity.
so that comes into location. So location means connectivity, infrastructure, everything will come into the
Sure.
location.
That's a good rule of thumb that you've given, Shazia. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from that. Now, I have a number of questions here who are saying that can I compare one project with the other? Ankit, you want to take that when two projects are there, like for instance, I've got Bani's project and Shazia's project. How will I compare the two? How like as a consumer should I do that?
I think definitely it's all the projects are comparable to each other because every developer when conceives a product, they have a particular concept in mind. So, for example, if I talk about ATS's projects, they are big, they are huge townships that gives you a bigger community living. And when I compared Alpha Residences, it's a very nice, small, niche product that gives you a gentry pricing of only 3 bedrooms. So yeah, definitely there's a difference. One at one end you have a typically mid-high development that's with Alpha Residences. That's somewhere on just 12 stories, and then you have got a high-end high-rise condominium style of ATS where you go up to 22 stories. So definitely it's comparable. And I'll just like to add one point to the previous discussion that being the devil's advocate to our fraternity and being honest to the investors, please definitely check the previous and the prevailing prices of plans like 1090. So I think that will give you a good
So
insight of how the escalated prices are there, and that's not good for any investor.
Right.
So that is also important.
Absolutely. Well, what you're trying to imply is that values are hiked and then you get a deferred payment plan, right?
Definitely.
You should be checking that out. Okay. Yogendra Chauhan asked, is it the greenest sector of Noida? I think all of you have talked about it. It is the greenest sector of Noida. And what are the offers or deals right now that projects in the sector are offering? So you said be wary of 1090, 1585 kind of deals. What are the deals that actually matter to the consumer?
Look, I feel right now the best deal you should get is the delivery of the product. That is the deal for a home.
Yeah.
Don't go in for the price point or the payment plans. Go for the value buying.
Right.
Just check whether a product is priced at the right value or not.
Yes.
So this deal thing has actually shattered the industry. The subventions and the possession plans, etc., have actually killed it all. So the actual end users took a back seat, and the investors who wanted a quick toss, they came into the picture. And that is where we actually had all these debacles happening.
So what you're saying is look at the intrinsic worth of the project and if it matches your requirements.
True, definitely.
Shazia, you want to add to that?
So I would like to take that question where somebody asked about the greenest like question about the greenest in the city. So would like to mention there is a 42 acres park which is there in Sector 150, which is the biggest park in the residential sector across country.
Okay. So and that's great.
Sorry?
That makes the sector itself very green.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any shopping malls nearby? Somebody wants to know. Bani, you had
there are two high street retail projects that are coming up. Malls not as of now in the immediate vicinity, but high street shopping, yes, there
are. Also, you all refer to COVID, and people want to know during COVID if you're looking for the project. Are there any virtual tours available? How do you change the marketing strategies?
There are definitely.
What
please, Bani,
internally is actively kind of work towards, obviously now digital space happens to be the only place where you can market your product, right? Because there's no point advertising, let's say, through newspapers or etc. That being said, whether it's virtual tours,
We are up. Bani, we are up. Magicbricks is up and running.
yeah, I know, I would imagine so, right? So
Right.
that being said, virtual tours definitely are possible. It's obviously with restriction and movement, it's a little hard to give like day-to-day updates when it comes to the construction status, because to get photographers in or to get people in to actually take pictures, construction anyway has not been happening. Only recently it's resumed in some areas. But yeah, to go digital, whether it's kind of reaching to people through LinkedIn, or coming up with exciting offers which are, let's say, for corporates, or enticing people to believe in what they see digitally, is the only way that because people are not going to be dropping into sales offices just
Yes,
yet
yes.
to see what product you're delivering.
Yeah. In fact, that is the uncertainty of buying in this time, right?
Yeah.
People still haven't. We haven't reached the stage where we are looking online and buying a property. Shazia, you want to talk about your digital marketing during the COVID time?
Yes, so we have gone all over digitally, and we have started our campaign when nobody was doing it. So we have got the first mover advantage in terms of getting the leads generated for my projects, not for Noida, for my other projects as well. So we have got the first mover advantage. We have been doing this since last 2 months, and we have got a great response. So digitally, we are trying all the networks. Like if you talk about Facebook, if you talk about Google, if you talk about LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere we are trying to get the leads generated. And we have also aligned with the customer through web calls, and telephonic discussions also obviously is the part of it. And my team is was there on the ground throughout the lockdown. So we are still doing it, and we have got good number of leads, and hope that we'll be able to give good homes for our buyers.
I'd like to add something here, more than lead generation, because of course these are still uncertain times when it comes to buying. I think this is the best time for branding. So even today, if somebody does not fill out a form and give you their details in terms of, what they might be interested in for you to contact them later, you can create an impact digitally in terms of them having some recall value and remembering you. So whenever it is that they want to actually buy a home, then they think of you. So this is a great branding opportunity. Lead generation, of course, might work for some. I don't know how voluminous that would be, but branding it's a great opportunity to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We find that that's working very well with a lot of developers across the country.
And that will give a positivity in terms of your market is concerned, so that developers are there, they are promoting, they are very optimistic and positive in terms of industry growth is concerned. So that gives a positivity in the market if we regularly project our brand across these platforms.
Absolutely. There are a lot of questions. I find 3-4 questions on connectivity to Faridabad, Sector 150 and Faridabad. I think the reference is to the FNG corridors, which is more or less suspended right now. Right? How does it work, Ankit? The Faridabad.
Sure. Basically, we already have a new bridge connectivity that is in the planning for just connecting Noida and Faridabad over the Yamuna River. And as far as FNG is concerned, it's somewhere around 70-75% completed. And back in 2018, they tried to do it in 12 to 15 months' time. That is definitely on the charts. And I
And
believe
I
the
think there are land acquisition problems, small stretches of land acquisition.
So there was a 600 meters land acquisition problem across Sector 143, and I believe that will be taken care of now, because government is very cautious about the connectivity today. But even if we leave out the FNG corridor, we have a direct link coming up over Yamuna River from sector passing through Sector 150 and 152 to Faridabad. That will give us an immense connectivity directly to Faridabad, and definitely en route that to the Gurgaon as well, surpassing the Faridabad corridor. Yeah.
Those people you said who have money in hand and may want to buy, they seem to be asking you whether you could. What is is it a good time? Is Sector 150 a good market for investors?
Definitely, it is a good market. I already told you, a market which has performed. We all talk about fundamentals, be it stocks, be it mutual funds, be it real estate. A market such as Sector 150, which has already performed well, and you have got all the developers coming from the western part of India and southern part of India, and all the big corporate house developers coming to 150, is
Yeah.
definitely itself evident that 150 is the new gold mine. And if it is for the developers, definitely it is for the investors. Finally, we will see value appreciation in terms of real estate, and that has come up from 150 only. And definitely, it is the epicenter today.
Bani, there are two questions for you. Satvinder Singh Luthra, what is the scope of ATS in Noida in terms of financial strength as many projects
I,
under construction?
yeah.
Will you take that?
You're absolutely right. There are many projects under construction in Sector 150, especially ours. That being said, as Ankit has previously mentioned, this sector I think has outperformed the others in Noida at the least. And it's attracted so much attention from outside of the NCR developers as well to actually want to come here and build. So, given that I feel like pricing here is actually, I would term it as affordable, given all the offerings that it has in place. I think that as the market kind of, turns to going back to normal, I think this sector will pick up just the way that, it had right at the start. And there should be absolutely no problem, delivering here or selling here. I mean, this has been one of our best performing sort of micro markets. So I don't imagine it to be anything else after.
Shazia, there is a question for you from Bhavna Mehan, who says, what appreciation can be perceived from the sector in the next 2 years?
So, like if you talk about the appreciation, that is a very, a vast area to comment on. So certainly, if you talk about nobody can actually comment like what percentage you are going to get the increase or what appreciation you are going to experience in coming point of time. So one thing I would like to mention that one Sector 150 actually came into existence and in the market when the market was actually seeing the price correction. So at that point of time, people who entered in that sector, they will certainly going to get the appreciation. But what percentage, that time will tell. Right now, it's not the right time to comment on the percentage appreciation you are going to get. But certainly, this is the right time to invest. You will certainly get the appreciations. Because if you're investing in a underdeveloping sector, the scope of the appreciation will always be there.
There's one more question for you. Sorry.
Sorry,
I'll just add to that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Said this is the time when I'm imagining a lot of developers to be making distress sales as well. So please know that it's only going to get better. But yeah, that data is something that we can't determine because we don't know, what it's going to be like. But it won't go. You won't lose money.
True.
But
yeah, Ankit, you had something to say.
I was just adding to one thing that there's one basic maths that we all need to understand. Talking about Noida Expressway, the only sector where we have proper development is 150. There are a limited number of units available. For example, Alpha Residences has only about 480 units. So today, as Bani said, quoting affordable luxury is achievable only today. Tomorrow it won't be available. Luxury will get its value in due time. So we also need to understand that this expressway is very narrowed down by two rivers around us. We are at the confluence of Hindan and Yamuna. So we can only go 1 kilometer right of the expressway and 1 kilometer left of the expressway. So this is not a land which can be expanded. This cannot be expanded. So definitely the demand is already fixed. The supply is already fixed and demand is going to get more. So value appreciation should not be a concern at all. Only little time, there are roadblocks that are being covered right now. And I believe in next 5 to 7 years time, we will again see a doubling up of the figures here. So Noida has the potential of going to 12,000, 14,000 per square feet.
And I'm going to take the last question for the day. I think more or less we've covered the whole gamut of questions. The last question, somebody has asked, is this the last land bank here? Isn't there all of Yamuna Expressway further up and a lot in Greater Noida? That as far as land banks go, it's just this is well located, right?
I'll add a very fundamentally correct point to this.
Yeah.
Land bank is everywhere. But we also need to understand pin code changes the price and sentiments. Ghaziabad and Noida are 100 meters apart.
Yes.
And the prices are different.
Yes.
So we also need to understand the sentiment and emotional values. When I'm in Noida, I feel comfortable. When I go to Greater Noida, I still feel it's yet to be developed. And Yamuna Expressway seems to be a long-term horizon.
Yes.
So that way, yeah, for Noida, 150 is the last land bank.
Closing comments from you, Bani. Sector 150, the current state of the market, connectivity. Just a quick.
Fabulous place to invest. Definitely do it now if you have money to spare and if you think you want to and you can. I'd also like to say that, for people who are probably first time investors in real estate and, aren't looking for this to be their home, if you want to evaluate, like, it's basic rule of thumb in finance, because you have various asset classes. So just remember that if you want to see the failure or the success of your investment, typically you should wait 7 years in the case of real estate and 15 in the case of the stock market. So, if you think that in 3 years your prices haven't appreciated and this was a failure of an investment, that's actually not true, because it takes about 7 years for it to become ripe and mature, your investment. So if over a time period of 7 to 8 years you've made money, then that has been a successful investment. So don't be in a rush to actually get out of the project or look, because I feel like real estate, you make maximum returns if you stick around just for a little longer.
Yes.
If you're looking for a 1 to 2 year horizon, this and a very high data, then this may not be where you want to be investing.
Shazia, closing comments from you.
Yeah, so like as far as the I see is Sector 150, and that is going to be, I think, a landmark in Noida, like in coming time when the entire development will be in place, the infrastructure will be in place. So I can see that it will come as a luxury sector from affordable luxury sector. So this is how I can see Sector 150.
And that is the progression that she's predicting.
Yes.
Your closing comments, please.
I believe again for 150 sector, the best bet for end users, the best bet for first-time home buyers. Noida has already seen the highs of about 8 to 9,000 rupees per square feet for residential spaces, and that is when we did not had any corporates coming in, we did not had 80% green covers like 480 acres in Sports City. So definitely, this is the best bet right now if you want to enter into real estate, and I think you should at this point in time.
Sure. Thank you so much for joining me. And consumers, keep those questions coming. Our experts have seen the questions. They're free to answer these questions even later. So thank you so much. And I hope all of you stay safe and also continue your search for properties. Hope each one of you finds that one house that is meant especially for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye.